January.
We're live. Great. Welcome everybody to Authentic Relating, Slowing Down to the Speed of Love. My name is Rick Smith, and we've got about 45 minutes to take you on what I think is going to be quite a beautiful journey. Normally, Authentic Relating is done in dyads and triads in small groups where there's interaction because it's about relating. And because I'm speaking and you're watching and listening, it's going to be a different kind of setup. And that'll give me some license to focus on some things that I think would be most beneficial given the platform. So I'm going to suggest that whatever you're doing, that you consider the option of really focusing in a relaxed way for this time to receive the magic. Because we're going to go slow. And in going slow, it's kind of like when you try and jump across the lily pads to cross the pond, skitter across, but if you slow down, sometimes you can drop down into the depth where the gold is. So we're going to go slow at the speed of love. And I just want to share a couple things. That a lot of people, most people I know, are very interested in expanding their comfort zone. And what's not always obvious is that kind of by definition, to expand your comfort zone, you need to enter into discomfort. It's part of the deal. And so I'm going to offer you some practices and some kind of approaches that may be a little uncomfortable, not too, just like a little bit of a low level spice to allow you to expand your comfort zone. And my experience is if we jump full-fledged into what I might call like the vulnerability Olympics, our nervous system can't handle it, we just jump back into kind of stasis. But if we don't step far enough, then we stay in isolation. And so we're going to look for the sweet spot in this session. And to start, authentic relating is about being authentic and then relating. So authentic means being ourselves. So we're going to just take about a minute to do a simple guided meditation so that you can drop into your own center. And I'll guide it. It's really simple. I invite you to soften your gaze or close your eyes and just notice your body in the position it's in. If you're standing or sitting, feel the cushions or the chair or the floor. Just begin to notice what's here. Letting go of your to-do list and the different things that you're debating doing in this session, and just coming to now. And perhaps noticing your breath. Not to change it, just to notice what's here. This is all about noticing and welcoming what we notice. So perhaps the awareness goes to the rib cage and the belly expanding and contracting. Whatever's here is welcome. If you notice your mind starting to wander, you can allow your mind to wander and just welcome this. All is welcome. Notice what happens as you begin to settle in your own inner world. And just take about a half a minute now at your own pace to begin to transition back into the space. So that might be stretching or sounding, moving in socially inappropriate ways since nobody can see you. And eventually taking sips of light with your eyes and coming back to this space together. As you come back, I invite you, if it's right for you, to take a nice, relaxed, deep inhale with an even slower exhale with a vocalized sound in the exhale. Something magical happens in the breath when we relax and let the shoulders go. Everything kind of falls away. So one more, again, if it's right for you. Inhale. Welcome. So there's all sorts of principles to authentic relating, and I'm going to focus primarily on one of them, which we started to touch on. It's called welcome everything. Welcome everything is, I'll give you kind of three different analogies or approaches to understanding this. My website is called thetenderedge.com. On it, I've been able to kind of summarize my entire philosophy of life in 2 sentences. So I'll give you those 2 sentences and see if this rings true for you in some way. Love is unconditional. Life gives us conditions so we can love them. Life gives us conditions so we can love them. Not necessarily having to change them or sandpaper our personalities or fix ourselves or achieve, just to be with ourselves as we are. And so part of the journey in this session will be to bring up to the conscious awareness some of the conditions and find ways to dance with and welcome them in ways that perhaps are new and bring energy and aliveness. So the next kind of approach to this is a quote by Walt Whitman, the American poet, who wrote something like, "Do I contradict myself? So be it, I contradict myself. I am large. I contain multitudes. I contain multitudes." And what that means is it's totally possible and often quite common to have multiple experiences at the same time. And they can seem to be opposite. I'm sad and I'm happy. I'm nervous and I'm excited. I'm really glad to see you and I'm scared to be with you. All of these can coexist at the same time. And we don't have to make one dominant over the other. We contain multitudes, and as we welcome this, there's more room for us to engage with life, engage with ourselves. And the third kind of approach or analogy, when I was a kid growing up in the US, I coveted the big Crayola box of crayons. They had like the stadium of 64 different crayons. Perhaps you know what I'm talking about. And there were like 64 different colors. So there's like sky blue and magenta and forest green. And certain colors I'm really familiar with and like, and certain colors I'm awkward with. And analogously, there are certain experiences or conditions in our lives that we run with quite well. I'm really good when I'm feeling expanded on the dance floor, for example. I'm not so good when I'm feeling lonely on the dance floor and everyone else seems to be having a good time, for example. If we think of these different experiences as crayons, as we welcome them, as we notice these different parts of ourselves and welcome these experiences or conditions, it's as if we're taking those crayons and putting them in the box, our box. And it expands our palette, if you will. And what's really fascinating about it is as we welcome certain feelings or states of consciousness and really welcome them inside ourselves, people who are wanting to welcome those states of consciousness will knock on our door. I go, I don't know what it is, but I'm feeling really sad and I just wanted to hang out with you. Because if we're welcoming magenta or forest green and they're having a magenta moment, they'll feel it. And it increases our capacity to love those aspects of ourselves as we love those aspects in other people. So this is kind of the intro to welcome everything. Okay, one more kind of foundational piece. And this feels really edgy for me to say, but it's true for me, and it may be true for you. From my perspective, love is not about feeling good. It's not about feeling expanded. It's not about feeling high. It's not about feeling connected. It's not even about feeling present. Love is more about how soft we can be with ourselves inside of any experience. How much we can attend to and breathe and soften and bring our own kindness to ourselves inside of any experience. And so that's what it means to welcome everything, because when we welcome everything, when we're really doing that, the conditions that we don't normally welcome will raise their hands and go, we're really hoping to be loved here. And they'll show up. So oftentimes in the midst of expansion, we might have a contracted experience thinking something went wrong, but in fact, the contraction arises because our system is saying yes to love, and then the parts that aren't yet welcome show up. Oh, but love me. And so it's a sign of openness rather than a sign of something gone wrong. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and just say something about the breath, because I'll invite us in a moment to take a breath together, which is particularly when we take that slow, relaxed breath, particularly with that the vocal sound on the exhale. And it might be a little embarrassing if you're in a room of other people, or maybe you're on your own. But when the vibration in the throat happens, a nice soft vibration, it kind of tickles, it vibrates, massages the vagus nerve in the spinal column, which is associated with fight or flight versus rest and relax. So it's like massaging our system to get us to relax. There's more safety. It's almost like erasing the board and starting fresh. And so I will do this from time to time in my life, and certainly in this session. So I invite us, as I raise my hand, you can inhale, and as it drops down, you can take an exhale with a relaxed sound. Try one more time. Let the shoulders go. Let the energy drop down into the earth as you exhale. Cool. So before we do another exercise, I'm going to invite you to notice what you're noticing right now. Let's start with sensations in your body. It's not that flashy to notice that you have tingling or tightness or relaxation, but it's present. When we notice the present moment sensations of the body, we are automatically right here. So I'll speak my own. Right now I'm noticing my right foot is pushing against the leg of the chair for the table, and there's a pressure and it feels kind of focused, and I like it. I feel like I'm grounded with it. I notice my throat is relaxing as I'm speaking. And I notice my belly beginning to kind of relax as I'm speaking to you in the session. So you can notice this. Dare I suggest you do this out loud in your own room. If you're with other people, you can just go back and forth. You can jot it down, or you can just in your own awareness notice sensations, tightness, relaxation, energy flow, anything at all. Just take a moment. This is something I like to do when I'm waiting. I have this thing, I don't like to wait in line, I don't like to wait in traffic. And more now than ever, I'm able to notice what's happening in my body when I'm waiting, and it's a whole adventure. I get to be with myself in a very simple way while I'm standing in line to get the ticket or whatever it is. So something you can try. So now I invite you to notice any feelings or thoughts that are arising. Anything at all. And I'll share mine in a moment. Well, first of all, I'm noticing what was feeling really awkward to speak into a camera with nobody's response isn't feeling so awkward anymore. Part of the reason I'm doing this live as opposed to videotape is because even though maybe there's only a few of you in the audience around the world, I'm wanting to be authentically me now. I want to feel who's in the space, what's alive in the space, and so I'm not rehearsing what I'm saying because you can't. It's authentic. It's this moment. So I'm noticing less and less awkwardness. Excuse me. I'm noticing an awareness of the back of my body. Like I tend to lean forward to try and make a point, and I'm not doing that. I'm actually coming back, letting life come to me more, which is really something I've been focusing on a long time, and it's so cool to notice it happening while I'm on camera. And I notice curiosity about who's watching and how it is for you to be watching. And does this feel awkward? Are you debating, is this time to cut out and go make a sandwich? Or are you riveted? All that's going on in my head. My insecurity, my hunger, my curiosity, my delight in having this opportunity to be myself with you is also present. So just take a moment in your own way, writing, speaking, thinking, just noticing what's alive, what are you noticing for yourself? Feelings, thoughts, sensations. Okay, welcome. So let's talk about welcoming everything. First of all, welcoming everything does not mean tolerating everything. It doesn't mean that I agree with what I'm hearing or witnessing. It means that I'm allowing it to impact me. And in that impact, I might respond in all sorts of ways, but I'm allowing life to be here rather than editing it before it arises and arrives in my field. Welcoming everything. So I'm going to focus a little bit on what you might consider kind of negative noise in our heads. Because these are the noises that I'm going to suggest are really hungry to be welcomed. And they have gifts for us. Even though they seem sometimes overwhelming, I'm going to suggest that in the heart of things, these experiences, these negative experiences, are doorways into an expanded relaxation in our world. So let me give you a list of some things that might be like this. How about, there's so many. How about, I'm not enough. I'm almost there. I'm undeserving, or I missed the boat. Things like that. Or I'm too thin, too old, too rich, too big. Not relaxed enough in my sexuality. A failure here, a fraud, an imposter. All of this goes on. I'm hopelessly insecure. Or I'm hopefully not insecure, but I'm not there yet. And just notice as I speak these, what arises for you. They're kind of like noises in our heads, like radio stations, and we can tune into them. Sometimes we have the option, and sometimes they're so loud they're just here. Everybody else is having such a good time. If only. So one way to understand this, I'm going to give you a sentence, and you can fill in the gaps in the sentence as you like. Someday, when the following happens, then I'll finally XYZ. So someday, blank, when the following happens, whatever it is, I will finally blank. So an example, someday when I finally welcome my feelings of insecurity, I'll be a more dynamic, charismatic person, and I'll make more money and be more successful. Someday when I get over my fear of public speaking, I'll be able to speak to large groups what my real genius is. Someday when I finally make peace with my parents or my children in that deep way I've always wanted to, then I will be whole and relaxed. Someday when I do the cleanse or the diet that I know I need to do, I'll feel more whole and alive, and I'll be more popular. Who knows? Whatever it is, there's all these noises. And so to welcome everything means to notice this part of everything, this kind of internal, usually under the surface chatter that we often, because we don't notice it, it has power over us. These noises can own us unless we notice and welcome them. When we begin to notice them, the power of them diminishes and we can start to have a relationship with these quote unquote negative noises. So in your own way, and we're going to go on a little journey, think of one or two particularly strong kind of chronic noises. The classics are, I'm an imposter or a fraud, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I'm overwhelming or overbearing, I'm too sad or too happy or too intense, whatever they are. And just allow one or two of them to come to the surface. And if you're willing to be a little bit awkward, you can say it out loud in your private space. I'll say mine that's coming up. I'm too old. Life has passed me by. That's one that I imagine will come up for the rest of my life. And it's here as we're speaking, so I thought I'd name it. So I invite you now to do a little bit of a guided meditation. So having in your awareness this one or two negative noises, judgments, conditions, whatever you want to call them. And then soften your gaze or close your eyes. And once again, just notice your breath. Notice if your breath changes as you notice it. No right or wrong. Notice gravity, the earth rising up to meet you in the form of the chair or the cushion, wherever you're standing or sitting or laying. And allow, with each relaxed exhale, allow the earth to rise up to meet you so you can let go of any holding where on some level we think we're helping the earth by holding ourselves up. Let the earth hold us. From one perspective, breath and earth are our two primary dance partners this whole lifetime. Breath and earth. The root of the word breath is the root for the word spirit. Respiration, inspiration. As we breathe without even thinking about it, we are filled with life force in every cell. It's just a gift that we have for being human, for being animal. And the earth is always holding. So just dropping down. And now just allow your hands to be an expression of your own heart. And let the intelligence of your hands bring them to your body wherever they want to go. For comfort, for connection. Maybe it's the belly, the genitals, the heart, the throat, wherever they want to go. They could be still, they could move. Maybe they just want to lay on your lap. But just feel that sense of relaxed, safe presence of your own tender love. Good. And now take a breath in and let out a sound. Imagine now, and you can keep your eyes soft or closed, you can open them if you want. Just imagine that you are in the supermarket, you're in the grocery store, and you're with this one or two charged feelings, these noises in your head, the negative charges. I'm not enough, I'm too big, I'm too scared, I'm always anxious, whatever the noise is. And just allow, if it's right for you, and everything of course is optional, allow that the noise, the combined noise, is a small child, like a 3-year-old child. Your child, your girl, your boy. And the two of you are hanging out in aisle 3. And you're shopping. And the plan is to make a dinner. And you're kind of on a time crunch. So you've gotten the item you need in aisle 3. And there's one more trip to aisle 5 to get the final ingredients to make the dinner work. And so you say to this young child, who's really a part of you, who's really you, but the kind of resistant part, and you say, okay, let's go to aisle 5, and then we can go check out, and then we can go home for dinner. And the young one says, I don't want to go to aisle 5. No, I don't want to, I'm scared, I just want to be here. Why can't we just be here? And you say, well, because the item we need is on aisle 5, and you look at your watch, it's time to go, we need to move, let's go. And the young one says, but I don't want to go. And you kind of have this back and forth, this verbal tug of war, back and forth, back and forth. And at some point, as the adult, you can surrender. And you can turn to the young one and say, you know what? To hell with aisle 5. I'm never leaving. We can stay in aisle 3 forever. Whatever you need, I am not leaving you. Who you are, this small part of myself, is more important than anything else I could ever do or attend to. I'm with you and I'm not leaving. And if it's right for you, just allow that possibility in your consciousness that this part of you, the small, resistant or scared or contracted place, can be welcomed. Just how he is, just how she is. And you know what? The dinner might not be perfect and we might not even get to dinner. But what's most important is that I'm here with you. And you take a stand. So that when that feeling arises in a big way, let's say it's insecurity or anxiety or fear or whatever it is, there's a commitment to stay. I'm with myself, even when I feel crazy inside, even when I feel intense. And this is a form of real, authentic relating, because we're relating to ourselves in an authentic way, if it's right for you. There is no right or wrong in this, and yet there's always an opportunity to face whatever it is that's seemingly in the way, that's seemingly keeping us down, and say, you know what? This is part of me. This is my arm. These are my cells. I am here. And just notice what happens as you invite this option, this opportunity. If you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to type in a comment or two what you're noticing. I'm just going to pause in my talking for maybe half a minute and give a chance to just let this gel. So a simple mantra that I often use. So when I notice a self-judgment, or someone shares a judgment of me, oh, Rick, you're just too XYZ. First thing that happens is I notice a defensive posture come up, like I want to defend. No, I'm not like that, it's you, that whole kind of thing. You're projecting, all that stuff. That's kind of the first layer. And then with the breath at this point, it's kind of automatic. I've been doing this for so long. I ask myself a question. If what this person is saying, this negative thing that they're saying about me, or if this negative judgment, if it's true about me, if it's true, can I still love myself? Can I still love myself? Now, love is a really tricky word, so I'm going to change it a little bit. Can I be kind with myself? Can I Breathe in tenderness. Can I slow down and welcome this part, this crayon into the box? And so the mantra is, I notice these conditions and I choose to stay with myself. Not pushing away that, well, also, no, these are part of me. These are the tender young ones, the parts of us that have been knocking on our door for so long because they want to be welcomed. They're our beloveds. I invite you to be open to this possibility. Today, in this moment, as you're with me, as you're watching this recording, and forever, it's up to you. But to stay right here. It can be uncomfortable, it can bring up shame. Shame is not the enemy. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's just conditions that can be welcomed. And so, I'm going to share a couple of stories with you along these lines. This is way off my script, but here we go. Years and years ago, I was a participant in a breathwork practice, the connected breath, where there's a lot of big experience. And I had a partner, we took turns, and the idea was, when it was my turn, I was supposed to write down a sentence to be repeated to me by my partner, whispered in my ear when I'm at the height of the cathartic breath, like this shaking and all the things that go on. And so people are writing things like, they're writing to themselves, you are divine, you are beautiful. And what I wrote down is, you are hopelessly insecure. I still laugh about it. And so the breathwork comes, it's a big room, lots of people catharting, and I'm a big catharter, so I'm shaking and I'm yelling and I'm crying. And my partner is whispering in my ear, you are hopelessly insecure. And it's bringing up more catharsis. And for me, it's beautiful. But the leader of the training, because I'm making so much, noise, comes over and checks in on me, and she looks at my sentence that I wrote, and she takes it from my partner and she says, this won't do at all. And she whispers in my ear, you're totally secure, you're okay. And I opened one eye and I said to her, actually, it's okay to read the sentence as it is, I can explain it later. She said, okay, and she laughed, and more happened. And at the end of the breath work, when my body was relaxed, my nervous system came back and all that, I said to her, to me, insecure is human. I'm human. And something about receiving that, I don't have to stretch, I don't have to push, I don't have to hold my breath. And the word hopelessly means I have no hope to be perfectly secure. And there's something for me so relaxing to know that I am who I am, and I'm beautiful and precious and alive and perfect, as I'm also insecure, falling short, not always sure of myself, rarely sure of myself. All of these conditions, when it was read to me, hopelessly insecure, what I was receiving was, you are innocent, you are whole, you are beautiful. That's what I was receiving, but I was doing it through the doorway of welcoming these charged parts. So just a possibility for you to get yourself a t-shirt that says, I am hopelessly insecure, ask me how. Okay, let's take a breath. Okay. And then along the same lines, I'm going to tell you another story. It's kind of embarrassing, but that's also welcome. You ever think that embarrassing means to bury your ass? To be exposed? Yeah, it's embarrassing. So I love dancing, and I've been doing 5 rhythms dance for many, many years. If you don't know it, it's like the precursor of ecstatic dance, and it's all over the world. Anyway, I'm doing 5 rhythms at this one place where I dance a lot, 150 people every Sunday morning. And one day I'm dancing, and this beautiful woman, who I've had my eye on her for a while, over the weeks, she starts dancing with me. And I start freaking out. Like, what does this mean? What do I do? You're supposed to dance, but I'm like, I don't know if it's like the beauty was overwhelming to me, and I was just freaking out. Like, oh God, maybe she doesn't really want to dance with me and she feels obligated. So I started moving my body in a way where I would turn. So if she wanted to dance away gracefully, she could, but she kept staying with me. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna dance. And like my mind is racing and I'm moving and she's moving and oh, this is kind of fun. But I'm just like, I'm so like in my head in a certain way, just so concerned, insecure around what this means and all that stuff that, you know. Anyway, the song ends, we dance apart. The dance ends, you know, maybe half an hour later, and I'm in the parking lot, and this woman comes up to me and she says, "Thank you so much for the dance. You were so present." And in my mind, she went down a notch. It's like, you think I was present? Oh, honey, I thought, nah, but I just let it go. Okay, fine. And what happened, because you know you dance every week for 20 years, it's going to happen on a irregular basis that another experience, another beautiful woman dancing with me, same noise in my head, buzzing around, feeling really freaked out. Song ends, dance ends, parking lot, comes up to me and says, "Thank you so much for the dance. You were so present." And I'm like, have I fooled everyone? It happened enough in enough situations that it dawned on me, maybe I was present. Maybe I was present with the noise in my head. Maybe I was allowing the noise to be with me as I was dancing with this person. And it was it was a profound shift in my life, because I realized presence is not necessarily a feeling. You know, a lot of us have done fasting and various diets and all sorts of different things to feel present. And I love that feeling. But I also know, or I'm suggesting, that presence is not a feeling. It's a state of attending to oneself inside of whatever's happening. So when I have clients and someone has a noisy head, I say, great, no problem. That's, you know, we all have noisy heads from time to time, or in my case, most of the time. And we can welcome this. We can welcome this aisle 3 experience of presence. And I thought I'd share this with you because for me, it was kind of a breakthrough, like, oh yeah. What accrues from this, it's a muscle. It's like, dare I use the word faith? It's a muscle of faith that grows over time, where I might not have the experience of being loving or kind or present, but as I keep trusting my own innocence, my own wholeness, inside of whatever experience I have, something accrues. The reflections from others suggest that I'm present, and I start to notice, it's not exactly a feeling, it's a sensing that there is presence here, even though there's noise. As Walt Whitman said, I contain multitudes. We can be present fully and be thinking about our shopping list or whatever it is that's going on. And to me, there's a liberation possible in this orientation. One more breath. And as we're winding down, I'm just going to give you a kind of a random tool from Authentic Relating. Oh, and by the way, I do 2 things. There's Authentic Relating, which is an international organization, authenticrelating.co. And then my website is thetenderedge.com, and I do Awakened Leadership and other things like that. There's online things and there's in person. I live in Bali. One random kind of tool that you can use. There's kind of 5 key foundational practices in Authentic Relating. The first one is Welcome Everything, which I've been focusing on this whole time. And the second one is called Assume Nothing. And assume nothing, good luck with that, because we're assumption-making machines. But the idea is to notice our assumptions and begin to peel that onion so we get to a present open curiosity. Assumptions tend to limit curiosity, which limits aliveness and presence. So allowing ourselves to be in a state of not knowing and being open. And so the tool is when you notice an assumption about someone, to check it out. And a language choice could be, I notice I'm having a story about you. The story is XYZ. Is this true? My story is that you're incredibly wealthy and relaxed in your world. Is this true? Actually, no, I'm quite insecure. Great, whatever it is. But to share, it's vulnerable, it's edgy, but it also opens up connection. Because as we start to do that, we start to notice some of these underlying assumptions that box and limit, well, that's that person, so I'm not going to connect with them. And yet each person is a world of possibility, a world of wonder and story and past and pain and opening, regardless of my assumptions. And so as I practice this, I have more and more moments, even with strangers, where there's this like, where we meet as one in a certain sense, because I'm not shielding myself with my own assumptions about that person. So the story I'm telling myself is, or I imagine that, is this true? And be willing to learn and start fresh. So with that, I think we are out of time. Moderator, anything I'm supposed to say or do? We're just going to close it? Okay. So it's been a pleasure. Feel free to reach out to me about anything. thetenderedge.com. Blessings. Bye for now.